I think there's a lot of factors. It's obviously the economy, uh, housing costs, whether it's rental or mortgage payments, and grocery store. I think so many people are talking about it, and they're seeing it themselves, whether you can afford it or not. It's pretty shocking when you're at the grocery store to see what the costs are. So it doesn't take a lot of um, follow through to see how somebody that's on social assistance or a minimum wage job, how they can run out of money very quickly once the housing, utilities, and basic needs like groceries are purchased. So it's tough on multiple levels of the economy and that multiple demographics as well.
The report highlights that the majority of people that are relying on food banks are children and two-parent families. We asked AJ to break this down and why this is the demographic most affected.
I think it's just in alignment with what I was just saying is everything is just so um, high in cost that if you look at it and you think, okay, what I was paying for an item 5 or 10 years ago, considering it being 2 or 3 to 4 times the amount that you purchased back then, but our wage increases haven't kept pace with the economy. So there's a lot of people that are struggling with no fault of their own. They're still pursuing employment. They're still working. It's just what they're making isn't keeping pace with the rise in costs.
AJ also unpacked if there are specific regions in Canada where food insecurity is worse.
I think probably in the larger cities where employment competition is high, potentially in the northern areas where they wouldn't have access to employment. But I think you're seeing it not only across Ontario, across Canada, but it's literally across the world where everybody is experiencing the strain on their pocketbooks to make ends meet. And it seems like a recurring theme, but we as a food bank are seeing it on a daily basis with the higher numbers. It's really hard to avoid, whether it's newspaper, and other media. It's out there, and everybody's just talking about it for sure.
With Canada's food banks calling on the government to extend employment insurance, we asked AJ why EI support for gig and self employed workers is so important.
I think it's just all in line with potentially the lowered incomes. So, you're injured on your job or, for whatever reason, you're on EI. You're obviously right at the beginning not getting, the amount that you were getting when you were working. And then reemployment. The competition out there is so severe that, youth employment is down, and it's affecting everybody. So, I mean, it's just a way of sustaining, the people that are struggling. And I think EI is just another extension of whether you talk about social assistance or pensions, CPP, OAS. They're not making ends meet now. What once was enough to live on when you retired is no longer the case.
Lastly, we discussed what long term impact food insecurity has on children and families.
If you talk about education, kids are going to school hungry. They're at home, they're hungry. They're not thriving with the energy that they need. And then just having food in the schools is a good option. But if you turn that on the other side, the reason is that families don't have enough food at home. So why don't we set up social programs that puts more money in the pockets of those families so that they could feed their kids at home It's great that we have food programs at school, but what happens when those programs run out? We still need families feeding their kids.